I guess my first point to anyone anywhere is to speak up. The only reason this case was even brought to light was because somebody who saw the video said something. So I want to thank Jamie for doing that. She was the fire that lit this whole thing. For the people in Alberta, I guess we'll just keep sharing the story and try and get it out there. If they don't know the name, they won't know. But if they recognize her, just avoid it at all costs and just make people aware.
For Rebel News, I'm Tamara Ugolini here in Cobourg, Ontario, in front of the provincial courthouse with Emily Reardon, who's the owner of the horse known as Ezra, which was formerly Quinn under the previous owner, Solstice Pecile, who's just pled guilty in this court here without an appearance. Only her lawyer appeared via Zoom or Skype virtual appearance. And the stipulations against Solstice are that she has to pay a $2,500 fine, and she cannot own, care for, or otherwise have a horse in her possession in Ontario. Now, what we heard in the court there is that Solstice has fled the province and now resides in Alberta due to apparently death threats uttered against her for the gruesome treatment of the horse in question. And knowing that she's in Alberta and this sentence today doesn't prevent her from having access to horses in that province, what's your takeaway as the person who's the original owner of the horse who now has care once again for Ezra?
It's disheartening. It's the only word I can think of. I'm glad we had a guilty plea. I'm glad there was punishment and the court saw that what she did was wrong. It's just she's moved on and she's no longer in the province where it applies, and she can do whatever she wants anywhere else, and it's sad.
It doesn't seem like that's justice really being served for yourself and for the horse. I know lots of people were wondering and have wondered this whole time, how is the horse doing? You had a GoFundMe page up to help support the costs associated with rehabilitating Quinn, again, formerly known as Ezra. Can you give us an update?
Yeah, so Ezra's been doing pretty well. She's settling in her new place. She's coming out of her shell a bit. It's taken a lot of time and the help of a certified behaviorist to help work through some of the trauma that she's experienced. But she's doing better. In terms of the GoFundMe, I can't thank the community enough for helping us out in that situation. I really didn't expect much, and I was able to cover the costs that I needed to cover to get her back. I did have some extras at the end, and those were donated to multiple horse rescues across Ontario, as I promised. And yeah, I'm so grateful to everyone for helping us.
Speaking of horse rescue, you essentially had to go and rescue this horse. I suppose it was when you saw the treatment of Quinn when it went viral originally about a year ago. What was that experience like? You had to travel a great distance to obtain the horse. What was it like?
It was hard. I saw the post on Facebook, and it didn't take long for me to recognize that it was Ezra. That was a really hard day. I was very emotional, and how do you react to seeing an animal treated that way? But yeah, within a day, I had managed to get my family together and get our hands on a truck and trailer, and we made that 8-hour trek out to Quebec to pick her up. It was a straight shot. We got her, and the drive home was it was a relief. Yeah,
One thing that I found kind of odd was in the courtroom today, we heard that Solstice had attempted to provide medical care for the injuries that Ezra sustained during the abuse in her care. What was your takeaway from that? And did you see evidence of medical care being given to her?
Yeah, so they stated that treatment was provided. There's no evidence of that in the video. What they did show was her feet were wrapped in what we call vet wrap. It's a $2 roll from a store. Anybody can wrap a foot. It's not necessarily an indicator that proper vet treatment was sought out, but that's what they claimed. So
regardless, she's had proper care now. And I see that you're a horse welfare advocate. So where can people learn a little bit more about you and what you do and how to support this kind of advocacy work?
Yeah, absolutely. So I do have social media pages that are available that kind of talk about the story and our progress going forward. I will definitely be supporting other cases that come up. I mean, I hope that there aren't any, but it happens. So, on social media, you can look up hashtags, you can look up the story, and you can find out more information. And our community is really good at sticking together. So hopefully we can stop this from happening again.
Yeah, well, and in closing, on that last point, to stop this from happening again, what's your message for anybody in Alberta who may come into contact with Solstice Pecile and not be aware that she's been found pled guilty here in Ontario, and faces probation for having involvement with horses, but she can do whatever she pleases in another province.
Yeah. I guess my first point to anyone anywhere is to speak up. The only reason this case was even brought to light was because somebody who saw the video said something. So I want to thank Jamie for doing that. She was the fire that lit this whole thing. For the people in Alberta, I guess we'll just keep sharing the story and try and get it out there. If they don't know the name, they won't know. But if they recognize her, just avoid it at all costs and just make people aware.
Great. Well, thanks for your time and your advocacy work. For Rebel News in Cobourg, Ontario, I'm Tamara Ugolini. All right. Thanks so much, Pete. This case was so hush-hush. Rebel News had to be here on the ground to get this deliverance. And we know the guilty plea. We would have never caught up with Emily Reardon in person without being here on the ground, delivering you boots on the ground journalism. If you appreciate our efforts and you would like to support us in these endeavors, please head over to Rebel Field Reports and chip in what you're able to. Without your support, we would not be able to bring you the other side, often unreported side of the story. That's rebelfieldreports.com.